All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. Thank you for being here. My name is Puneet Dhawan. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at NetApp, focused specifically on our storage services with Amazon Web Services, FSx for ONTAP. I have a pleasure of having with me Trin from Gilead Sciences, as well as Justin from Thomson Reuters. Today, what we'll do is we'll dig into FSx for ONTAP architecture. We'll review some of the key use cases and workloads. And then the most exciting part, we'll have Trin and Justin come on stage and share their experience on how using FSx for ONTAP has been helping with their business objectives. So, it's fourth day at reInvent, and you are still here. Coming to this session, I'm pretty sure you are interested about storage, right? Because storage forms the foundation of any workload that you're deploying on cloud. Designing, architecting, choosing, picking the right storage is so fundamental to so many different kinds of workloads, be it storage for enterprise applications like SQL servers, Oracle, ERP, CRM applications, or storage just for general purpose file shares. There's a lot of unstructured data out there. In fact, majority of the data in the world is unstructured. Or if you're a developer, you're looking for storage for your Kubernetes platforms, or you're designing SaaS applications. Storage forms the foundation. Choice of storage, the protocol that you use, how do you protect your data, how do you think about disaster recovery? All these are some of the fundamental decisions that you need to make to ensure that the application that you're designing, supporting, deploying, scaling has the right data infrastructure. When customers move to cloud, especially from on-prem, or customers are scaling their applications in cloud, there are a few fundamental reasons and objectives our customers are thinking about. The first one is really improving the reliability without really increasing the operational burden of managing infrastructure. That's a big reason we find our customers moving to cloud. The other one, of course, is raising your security, availability, durability bar compared to what you can do that on-prem. Increasing the agility, and businesses are moving fast today, right? And IT and infrastructure cannot hold back the speed of the business. So our customers are really looking for that speed and agility of running, deploying, scaling their applications very, very quickly. And that happens with automation. How can you make these infrastructures autonomous without having a lot of manual interference or manual management in place? And lastly, as Dr. Volker also mentioned, CTO of AWS this morning, cost is becoming a fundamental decision factor in infrastructure. Right? It is a non-functional, yet a very critical requirement for most of our customers. So lowering the TCO is always on top of our mind for majority of our customers. And that leads us to FSx for ONTAP. What is it? Right? In a nutshell, FSx for ONTAP is NetApp's ONTAP software now delivered as a fully managed, highly scalable, efficient service from AWS. It's a native AWS service. AWS sells it, supports it, deploys it. You have it globally available in all the regions. And the obvious question is, what is ONTAP, right? I'm sure folks who have been managing infrastructure on-prem know a lot about ONTAP, but this is one of the world's leading data management platform, the most proven data management platform on-prem. And for the last 2 years, it's been available as an Amazon AWS service. It's a fully managed petabyte-scale storage service, which provides multi-protocol storage. In fact, FSx for ONTAP is the only unified storage service available in AWS portfolio. There are multiple ways to manage. It's fully integrated into AWS console, AWS APIs, of course, all the ONTAP APIs, which our customers have loved for decades, are also available to take advantage of the advanced functionality. It gives you the flexibility of deploying storage depending on your application's availability and durability requirements from a single AZ to a multi-AZ configuration without having to do the work of managing that availability across AZs. I talked about the range of applications that you have to support, right from, let's say, low-performing file shares to very high-performance software build environments to extremely high-performance HPC or AI ML applications. You have the flexibility to adapt performance based on the requirements of your applications. Data protection is on top of our minds, especially with what's happening with ransomware and all the attacks that we are seeing. Protecting data is fundamental to any application. And ONTAP provides a lot of robust features to ensure that your data is protected within an AZ, across AZs, across regions, between on-prem and cloud, pretty much everywhere. And lastly, as I said, we bring a ton of features to optimize the total cost of ownership and reduce the data footprint so that you are storing your data with the maximum possible efficiency. Let's dig in a little bit into how FSx for ONTAP works. At a very high level, we have 2 storage servers running the ONTAP data platform software, providing access, secure multi-protocol access through SMB, NFS, and PNFS for the unstructured data, as well as through iSCSI using for block storage. In fact, the unstructured data, besides NFS as SMB, can also now be accessed through S3s for the applications that are coded to take advantage of an object storage platform. The same files can now be exposed as objects. You could deploy these 2 storage servers either within a single AZ, so you still have high availability within an AZ, or these 2 storage servers can be deployed across AZs, so that if you can tolerate a full AZ failure without losing access to your data and your services. And by the way, all this is done through the automation of AWS. You don't have to deal with architecting a multi-AZ storage. It's already taken care of. When it comes to storing the data and giving the right performance levels, we take advantage of multiple intelligent features like memory caching. So we take advantage of the memory in the instance as well as NVMe storage attached to that instance. We call it instance storage, to accelerate application performance for reads and writes by caching that data. As the data lands on storage, the active data sits on an SSD, high-performance SSD tier. But we also all know that majority of the data that we have in our environments, it's not actively used. So there is no point keeping all that data on an expensive SSD tier. And what FSx ONTAP does is it has a very transparent tiering technology where the inactive blocks, again, based on the policies that you pick, based on the workload requirements, the inactive blocks of the data are tiered to a lower cost capacity pool. And not only that, as the data is coming in or as data is at rest, we ensure to compress, dedupe, use compaction to really reduce the footprint of the data so that you are maximizing the return of every penny that you're paying to store that data. Moving on, I was talking earlier about how critical is data management, data protection. And we bring a lot of new advanced features to FSx ONTAP that help you protect your data very rapidly. Point-in-time protection is becoming more and more critical for our customers, where if there is a data corruption or there's a ransomware attack, you want to go back to how your data looked 10 minutes ago, 10 hours ago, 10 days ago, right? And you can do that instantaneously without any impact to application performance, as well as without any additional cost, because our snapshots are thin snapshots and instantaneous snapshots. Similarly, if you need to make copies of your data, we see that in software build environments quite often, where you have multiple build environments but needing access to the same data, but they want to have their own copy. So rather than making, let's say, a copy of a 10 terabyte volume 10 times, paying for 100 terabytes of data, we make thin clones, just like that, without paying a penny. That's pretty powerful. We also introduced earlier this year our compliance technology called SnapLock, where you could write the data for meeting regulatory compliance needs so that once it's written, it cannot be touched. We have the most robust compliance technology that is now available with FSx ONTAP to ensure that any of your critical data can be met with the compliance and regulatory requirements. When we talk about cross-region replication, replication between an on-prem to cloud or cloud to on-prem, disaster recovery capability is really enhanced by our built-in SnapMirror capability. So the whole data protection suite really enriches the experience that our customers are getting without having to architect for those capabilities on top of what is available natively in some of the other storage services. And the best way to take advantage of storage is to ensure that it's available, accessible, integrated with a wide range of AWS services. So we have the FSx for ONTAP is fully integrated with monitoring services like CloudWatch, CloudTrail. It's integrated with AWS Backup for you to automatically take the backups and schedule the backups. It has full integration with Parallel Cluster, KMS, and it's also accessible from a wide range of compute resources like EC2, of course, EKS for Kubernetes platforms, Red Hat OpenShift platform, as well as other AWS services like workspaces. You need file shares for the VDI users, right? It's there for you to have a central NFS, SMB file shares accessible for Windows clients, Mac clients, Linux clients, consolidate all that storage into one place. You could also utilize NFS shares, for example, with SageMaker notebooks to provide shared storage for your data scientists. And lastly, from a management perspective, there are multiple range of tools, APIs available both within the AWS ecosystem, whether it's AWS CLI API, as well as the ONTAP API, ONTAP CLI, so that you have the breadth and the depth needed to take advantage of all the automation capabilities that you can build to get that agility and speed that the businesses need. Let's dig into performance a little bit now. So far, until about last week, our standard or scale-up architecture, where I just explained you have a single pair of HA servers, we were able to drive about 4 gigabytes per second throughput, about 160K IOPS at sub-millisecond latency, and about 192 terabytes in that SSD pool. And our customers have been utilizing this very happily, very satisfied across a range of applications. However, some of our larger customers have also been running applications that require much higher scalability to process large amounts of data with a large amount of compute capacity. And this week, we're very happy to announce our scale-out architecture that really takes the performance to the next level. So from about 4 gigabytes per second throughput that we were able to achieve, now we can get to 36 gigabytes per second, 9 times increase in performance capability that we have made available this week with AWS. On the right side, you can get from about 1 gigabyte to now more than 6 gigabytes per second write throughput, more than 1 million IOPS, and more than a petabyte of SSD storage capability, all within a single cluster. And how we do it is we utilize our scale-out architecture that has been tested and proven in an large on-prem install base for years, and we have brought it now to FSx for ONTAP service. Up to 6 pairs of highly available storage servers work together in tandem as a single storage cluster. We utilize a technology called Flex Group, which if you've been using FSx ONTAP, we already had a Flex Group within a single HA pair. And now the same Flex Group can be extended across 6 HA pairs to give you the aggregate capacity, the aggregate performance across all those 6 pairs working together. This architecture is going to be extremely helpful for a wide number of use cases, whether our customers are using high-performance computing, electronic design automation, media entertainment for VFX, post-production. You can bring a lot more artists now in a single storage solution and get the bandwidth and the throughput that they need. Seismic analysis in oil and gas, as well as for machine learning training, where you need to read the data sets as quickly as possible so that your compute, the GPU capacity, is not waiting on the data from the storage. We think these capabilities are going to extend powerful value proposition for our customers who are trying to make their decisions much faster without really waiting on the technology. We spoke about use case like EDA, right? Some of our largest customers are from the semiconductor industry, and they've been pushing us to extend the value of FSx so that the designs, all the chips that we're using in our phones or our computers, or in the cloud, they can be designed much faster at a lower cost. And this is an example of how our customers in the EDA space are utilizing FSx for ONTAP to design their build environments for their EDA applications. A lot of our customers are hybrid customers. They want to ensure that they have the data not only in cloud, but also on-prem. And they also want to ensure that there is a highly efficient data mobility solution available for them so that they can get the data where they need to be. We all live in distributed teams spread across the globe today, right? And we need our developers, our designers, to have access to the data very, very quickly, very efficiently. And a lot of our customers are utilizing a technology called FlexCache, which provides a read-write cached copy of the data. Your source data could be on-prem, on NetApp, it could be in AWS Cloud, it could be in one region, and you can provide a very highly efficient cache of that data, within minutes to your developers across the globe. Our customers find that not only helping to accelerate the development pipelines, but also save on the cost because of the efficiency on how quickly and how efficiently the data is shared. And now with scale-out, these customers are able to fire up their jobs on multiple compute instances and ensure that they will have the scalability at the storage, at the data level to match the throughput and the IOPS and the performance needs that the compute clusters would need. Customers like ARM, we've been working for a long time. They're really excited to put their hands on scale-out. And more than them, we are excited to make sure that we have been able to bring this capability into their hands so that they can design the chips much faster, and we can run our iPhones more faster too. Let's switch the gear a little bit more towards block storage. I said earlier, FSx for ONTAP is the only unified storage service available in AWS portfolio. And it provides block storage using iSCSI protocol for the applications that do need the high performance, low latency, small block I/O, while needing the high availability, the high durability for those business and mission critical applications. Very common pattern where customers want shared storage, and not just shared storage, but storage that is also available across AZs. So if one AZ fails, another AZ can take over without actually doing the operational investment to make that happen. Performance and scalability are, of course, a key concern for these larger database environments, for example. Our customers want to create multiple copies of the database environments. The customers also want cross-region replication, again, without doing the administrative work. And lastly, the block storage needs to be cost efficient. This has been tough to do in some of the native cloud storage, block storage environments. But with FSx, with a single storage solution, our customers have been able to take advantage of all these capabilities for the applications that need block storage. And here's one example for the database environments. A very common pattern we see for making sure the database is highly available across two AZs. And a lot of our customers have been using an application-level replication or a third-party replication tool, which not only adds cost, it also adds complexity and issues with scalability. And now with FSx ONTAP, using a multi-AZ file system, you could have a block storage which can be shared within a cluster environment, and it's available across AZs. For example, in a SQL Server environment, now you don't need to use an enterprise licensing. You could deploy a SQL Server with standard licensing, reduce the cost, lower the number of cores that you need in the EC2 instance, and still able to get that cross AZ availability to ensure that the storage is there for the most demanding applications that need the most uptime. Here's one example, S&P Global, a big customer of ours, utilizing FSx for ONTAP for their SQL Server environments, hundreds of databases hosted in a failover cluster environment with very aggressive RPO and RTO goals being met by moving from another block storage solution to FSx for ONTAP. The similar benefits extend to some of the other critical applications as well. Think SAP HANA. One of our large customers, they had very aggressive RPO, RTO goals, a very large HANA environment that they needed to bring to AWS. And FSx for ONTAP was the only solution that could actually help them meet very aggressive goals. They were able to bring the whole environment together, architect the whole environment, and bring up the whole environment within 25 minutes. It's a 9 terabyte HANA database. That's the kind of speed that these customers are looking for, and FSx for ONTAP helps them achieve these highly aggressive SLAs. They were also able to take advantage of a single storage solution, providing flexibility of single AZ and multi-AZ for different HANA datasets. So for example, they put the HANA databases on a single AZ file system, while the shared files live on a multi-AZ file system. Again, taking care of all the availability that is needed, yet not putting that burden on the customer's hand to architect for that, and still being able to take advantages of all the data protection features, the data efficiency features, to bring down their cost while help them meet their very high SLA requirements. VMware is another popular use case. A lot of our customers utilize VMware vSphere for their on-prem applications. And as these customers are moving to AWS, they are really looking for that simplicity without having to learn, adapt to a new technology. They want to extend that skill set, extend that simplicity of architecture to AWS. And VMware Cloud on AWS provides that. And not only that, when you combine that with an enterprise storage, which customers have been using for decades now on-prem, and now that same storage, FSx for ONTAP, is available as an external data store with VMC, that's a very powerful combination to help our customers not only simplify that migration of VMware workloads from on-prem to AWS, at the same time really help them with lowering the total cost of ownership. because now you can scale your compute and storage independently. This has not been possible in the past, where VMC architecture was just based on internal storage using vSAN. And if you do not have, if you have large storage requirements, but do not have large compute or memory requirements, you needed to add a lot more hosts. That added the cost. But now you could utilize a disaggregated compute and storage environment, especially now with the M7i diskless nodes that VMware just announced this week at reInvent. It's a powerful combination to have a highly available architecture on a single or a multi-AZ, as well as utilize all the data protection capabilities that we extend to a VMC environment. Just this week, we announced a preview of how you can take advantage of our application-consistent snapshots for SQL and Oracle running on VMC infrastructure. We're also running a preview of NetApp Disaster Recovery as a Service for customers to easily run a DR environment as a managed service from on-prem to cloud or on-prem to on-prem. And all that really, as I said earlier, results into a highly compelling case for lowering the cost as well. Here's an example, a real-world example of a large manufacturing organization looking to bring about 2,000 VMs to AWS with about a petabyte of storage. And rather than going on a purely hyper-converged vSAN-based architecture, this customer was able to split their virtual machine footprint and utilize an external storage combination with FSx for ONTAP and lower their overall cost. I mean, the savings between more than $2 million savings across 3 years, 20 to 50% lower TCO. That's net savings these customers can now put to critical strategic areas of their businesses that require that kind of investment. Big, big value for our customers. When we talk about developers, a lot of our developer community, the builder community, is using EKS. And the similar benefits now extend towards Kubernetes environments too. A very common pattern we see customers wanting to use multi-AZ file systems that have the high performance, that have the rich data protection features, they're simple to use in their builder environment, because these developers do not have a whole lot of storage background. They just want to consume storage. And with our Trident CSI driver, with our data protection features, we bring that simplicity and data protection capabilities to EKS environments. One of our customers, Infor, they're now using EKS plus FSx combination to process over 40 million messages a day at a very high speed, lower cost that has not been possible with some other storage solutions. And how can I leave Gen AI out? Have you not heard enough about AI this week? But it has been a transformational and I think one of the most important innovations of our lifetime. But to unlock the true potential of Gen AI, you can only do that once you connect to your enterprise data in a secure fashion, in an easy fashion, and that's what we're trying to do. A lot of our customers are also struggling with the data mobility problem. Should I bring the model to the data, or should I bring the data to the model? And FSx for ONTAP, along with our FlexCache technology, helps you in both, right? Really simplifying connecting the two together. We're been showcasing a demo in our booth on how to connect Bedrock with FSx for ONTAP to deploy an example application like augmented chatbot utilizing RAG techniques so that you could ask questions, you can summarize your documents based on the data that you already have. The multi-protocol nature of the product really helps you to deploy multiple vector databases, for example, whether those vector databases require NFS storage, object storage, block storage. Not only you can consolidate your data, but now you could run your vector databases on the same storage. You could protect the whole thing together. You could go back using snapshots, you can go back point in time. You can develop a consistent disaster recovery strategy for your Gen AI application infrastructure. Not only that, you can consolidate different pipelines, whether it's pre-processing, whether it's training, whether it's model deployment, all on a single storage solution. And that is very powerful to our customers, right? Not only helps with the simplicity of storage choice, storage management, but also extends the data protection and TCO advantages, across all different kind of applications. To summarize, I would say, regardless of whether you are, looking at storage for general purpose file shares, storage for your databases, ERP, CRM applications, software build environments, or you're thinking of storage for Kubernetes environments, FSx for ONTAP provides you a very versatile, the only unified storage service available in AWS. If you still have the energy by tomorrow, I would highly recommend to go visit Venetian tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. AWS is running a hands-on lab where you can firsthand experience the scale-out capabilities that we made available this week. So please go ahead and get your hands dirty and see how fast you can run your storage with the new architectural benefits we bring to the table. And with that, let's shift the focus to the most exciting part of this session today. Please welcome Trinh and welcome Justin on stage. Let's give them a big hand.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for being here. Justin, Trinh, why don't we get started with maybe introducing yourself, what you do, introduce your company, and then also touch base a little bit on what were some of the problems that you were trying to solve, and what were the things that you were struggling with that led you to look at AWS as your destination, and specifically FSx as a destination for storage. So let's start with Justin, you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Justin Wright. I head up platform engineering for Thomson Reuters. I've been there for a little over 18 years now. And Thomson Reuters, if you're not familiar with, is a content-driven technology company. So we sell software and services to professionals, and we also have a media and news arm that you may be familiar with. So we've been on a cloud journey for a number of years. We're about 85% of our workloads are in public cloud today. And we've really leveraged NetApp, and FSx specifically is in some of our data center exit and workload migrations that we've been doing over the last couple of years, where we've been using NetApp in our own data centers on premise, and we've really become accustomed to the performance and throughput and speed and enterprise view that FSx or that NetApp has delivered to us now available in FSx. So,
thank you, Justin.
So thank you for having me here today. It's an honor to be part of this conversations. My name is Trinh Tran, and I manage storage infrastructure at Gilead Sciences. Gilead Sciences is a research-based biopharmaceutical company that has been pursued and achieved many breakthroughs in medicines for over 35 years. Our primary goal is to create a healthy world for all people. Gilead is committed to advancing innovative medicines to help prevent and treat life-threatening diseases such as HIV, viral hepatitis, COVID-19, and cancer. Through our pioneering access and health equity programs, we were able to make our medicines available to millions of less fortunate communities across the world.
And you guys have done amazing work, especially in the last pandemic we have seen. So thank you. And of course, I remember you guys when we have to file our taxes. But Justin, talk a little bit about some of the core challenges. Why were you looking to exit the data centers? What were the challenges or objectives that led you to look at cloud adoption?
So we started our enterprise cloud journey in mid to late 2015. We actually started with a cloud-first kind of build new approach for a few years, and we became very very much aware and a fan of like cloud native design, cloud native architectures, et cetera. And then in 2018, we divested half of our company, our finance and risk business, which is now known as Refinitiv and LSEG company. And as part of that divestiture, we divested 9 data centers, and we decided to take that as an opportunity to really, accelerate the movement of workloads into public cloud, and start with our first kind of migration or lift and shift, if you want to use that term, approach for a number of workloads. I think it was about 10,000 assets at the time. We've finished that up in 2021. And at that point, we were about 60% in the public cloud, and we thought, well, what are we going to do with the rest of it? And so we started exiting our last company-owned data centers in Eagan, Minnesota, that we're going to be fully out of by the end of next year.
Got it. And Trin, what were some of your business challenges or objectives that led you, Gilead, to think about cloud?
So if you manage your own data center, you can understand that infrastructure is a limiting factor. You only provision your environment just enough to meet your business needs, plus additional buffer space to support their organic growth. You don't want to buy too much hardware because then it creates the unnecessary waste. You want to get the big bang for your investment. But the problem with provisioning infrastructure just to meet your business requirement, just for right now, is that you don't have that flexibility to be agile. So the cloud kind of provides a path forward to that infrastructure limitations. It helps us remove the unnecessary steps, and it helps us streamline our process to increase productivity. Also, one beautiful thing about the cloud is the amount of resources that you can easily tap into. AWS today has over 200 services.
Totally.
Yeah, that in a wide range of technology. That is a lot of Lego building blocks that you can add in your toolbox. So the more tools means the more capabilities, productivity, and the ability to enable and support your business. At the same time, it's allowed us to be more agile and responsive to our business needs.
Totally. Let's go back to the on-prem. Could you describe a little bit about what environment you said, existing NetApp customer? Could you provide a little bit more detail on what kind of infrastructure you had there and what kind of applications were you running on-prem? And then talk about your journey to move those to AWS.
Yeah, so we have hundreds of different products and applications. I mean, our on-premise estate was pretty heavy, Oracle, pretty heavy Linux, pretty heavy, I guess you would say SOA kind of architecture design patterns and such. Cloud, as Trin mentioned, I mean, with the elasticity and the ability to get infrastructure on demand and everything has been hugely valuable for us. We do sell tax products, so tax peak season, other different peak seasons where we need capacity very quickly. And so as part of, and obviously we were a big NetApp customer and still are, but as part of our migrations, what's been really helpful for us is to actually use, the ONTAP software solution to help move data and migrate data, ahead of kind of that go live and that rollover, cutover, if you will. That's been extremely helpful.
And how was that experience in utilizing, I assume, SnapMirror?
Yes.
To migrate that data?
It's worked great. I mean, not only are we familiar and very comfortable with SnapMirror, but it really helped accelerate some of the migrations of systems where we were trying to do, an incremental, or basically an initial copy and then an incremental backup and copy of, right before we actually cut customers over. It's worked really well.
That's good to know. Trin, how about your side?
So one of the challenge for us was we going through this cloud migrations journey is that when we deploy new applications, you have that flexibility. Because we're highly regulated, it's very hard. It gets a little bit more tricky to move legacy applications from on-premises to AWS. Refactoring and re-platform consumes a lot of time.
Yep.
At the same time, it introduces risks and disruptions to our business. Therefore, with SnapMirror, and we've been a NetApp customers for many years, so SnapMirror has kind of helped us doing our migrations because one of the problems we have is that when your data is being shared between users and various applications through multiple protocol, there wasn't a solutions on AWS that will help us allow that, move that data, because there wasn't a service on AWS that support multi-protocol a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a challenge. Yes, you can lift and shift your compute to the cloud and leave your storage on-prem, or you can be a little bit creative and move your data to S3 and place the file gateway in the front, as an example. In some use cases, that may work fine. In other use cases, it may not work so fine, because at the end of the day, file gateway is a virtual appliance with limited resources. Will it meet your performance requirement? Will it meet your high availability requirements? And does the cost architecture of that design make sense for you, right? So at the same time, if you have PCs and Mac user as your end computing, your Mac user will experience issues, performance, latencies, and other problems, because File Gateways does not support SMB on Mac. So for us, using ONTAP, since we're so experienced at having it, and we have experience using it for so many years, migrating to FSNs was easy, it's streamless, and it has very little to no impact to our business.
That's good to know.
So it's a very, and like what Justin says, we don't have to learn a new technology. And we also able to take advantage of all the features and functionalities that we love with ONTAP on FSXN.
So that choice of storage, that was very important, even before using some storage, doing some homework on what storage is the right fit for the applications. I'm guessing that's your message too, right?
That's correct.
Do the homework in terms of the choice of storage.
Do your homework, yeah. And when you do the homework, you will probably find out that, depends on your use cases, FSXN is probably more cost effective compared to other storage services on AWS today, like EBS, EFS, or FSX for Windows, for example.
And have you been able to utilize the dedube compression and the tiering benefits?
That's correct.
Perfect.
And like everything you said, we use AWS as an extensions to our on-prem data center as part of off-site data protections and disaster recovery.
Perfect. Justin, on your side, were there other storage alternatives that you were looking for, or was it a slam dunk decision that, given you were a NetApp customer on-prem and FSX was a natural choice?
When we started out, kind of 2015, 16, it wasn't really an option yet. So we do have other workloads that are using more traditional AWS storage offerings. But when NetApp became available via the AWS control plane, via FSX, it was very intriguing for us. And we started looking at it, because we can use CloudFormation, we can use infrastructure as code, all the best practices for cloud native design are there, and the workloads that we were looking to at that point in time migrate required the level of throughput, performance, low latency that NetApp can deliver and has done a good job for on-prem, and we decided to give it a shot, and we were getting the same, if not better performance and throughput with FSX in AWS, and it's been extremely helpful for a lot of workloads that we've migrated in the last couple of years.
When we were talking yesterday, Justin, you were also talking about the fact that, the advantages of a fully managed solution versus having to manage the storage yourself. Could you talk a little bit on how it has helped you?
Yeah, and so, I'm sure a lot of folks here in the room, appreciate the managed service offerings that cloud provides. And, we were looking at, for our initial cloud migrations, like how can we have really smart and talented people and employees at Thomson Reuters, and they're working on a lot of things that maybe aren't quite differentiating to a value for our customers. So we really wanted to take advantage of the managed service offering and, refocus some of our, talents to capabilities that are more visible in our products and our applications. And so it simplifies our support, simplifies kind of the running and the overhead of managing those things. So we get the value without having to, install and run and support it ourselves.
Totally. Trin, how for Gilead has that been a value driver for not having to manage storage?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the automations that we put in, with NetApp on-prem, we used to have our operations team alerts, monitors in place to manually goes in and grow NetApp volumes when we reach a certain percentage, for example. We're able to move away from that with using Lambdas and watching the CloudWatch alerts trigger Lambda functions to automatically grow, whether it is the SSD high performance pool. That way we kind of remove that operations, remove those unnecessary steps that help us be more productive.
So you are monitoring the storage utilization, and at a certain point, you're firing a Lambda function to automatically grow the storage?
That's correct.
That's pretty powerful.
Yep.
Removes the operations team, from this whole process and makes the infrastructure a lot more autonomous to adapt to your changing requirements. Talk a little bit, Justin, about the agility. You spoke about automation. How are you using automation, and what kind of benefits it has added in terms of the agility and the speed that you can operate now compared to on-prem, for example?
Yeah, so I mean, we try to automate everything. We try to automate as much as we can. Everything from when code check-ins, CI/CD pipelines, et cetera. The example you mentioned is fantastic, and just really trying to take the human out of the equation, because there's perhaps better things that they can do, and obviously you remove the chance of human error if you're doing an as code implementation. So that's been fantastic, and I think we have different workloads that we run, single AZ, multi-AZ, and we'll scale up or down the compute based on our peak needs. I mean, it's no secret when tax season is going to be, as an example, and so we can be very intelligent around the throughput and capacity that we have available.
And that is actually a very common pattern that we see with our customers, where when our customers are expecting a surge in the demand, Thanksgiving season or tax preparation season, you can improve or you can increase the performance capability, whether it's throughput or IOPS, right, and scale those parameters down when the demand goes down. So that's I think quite powerful. And Justin, you were also talking about Oracle, right? Can you talk a little bit about what advantages FSx has brought to your Oracle applications in conjunction to the vast unstructured data that you're hosting on FSx?
Yeah, I mean, on our on-premise, I mean, we run Oracle on NetApp quite regularly. Same thing with MS SQL, to be honest. But in using that in the cloud and having FSx for that underlying storage tier really helps out with the latency, the throughput, the enterprise capabilities that ONTAP provides, and especially around like doing backups. And usually we do use SnapMirror. It's been you don't have to turn the database off to do a backup, and that's been very helpful to have the incremental backups available.
That's pretty good. So you've been able to utilize the same storage not only for your unstructured data needs, your CI/CD pipelines, but also for these enterprise class databases like SQL and Oracle.
Definitely, yep.
Yeah, and you've also been using SnapCenter, right, to kind of orchestrate the backups.
Yes, and our approach to SnapCenter is it's the same, I guess, because it's the same software. So we use that on-prem, and we're also using that for like the Oracle and the MS SQL databases on the cloud.
Very good. Trent, how about in Gilead Sciences? Are you using any multi-AZ or a single AZ or architecting the same storage differently for different use cases?
So we are US West 1. So unfortunately, there wasn't a multi-AZ available for FSx. Yeah. So we're just doing SnapMirror replications to another regions as part of our DR exercise to make sure our data is protected and it's at another regions.
So you were able to kind of utilize a tool which comes with the storage.
That's correct.
To improve the availability posture across two regions.
That's correct.
Right, without using any other third-party tool.
That's correct.
Right, so how was that? I mean,
it was easy and straightforward, just like how it is on-prem, right? There's nothing nuanced or new or difficult about it. You set it up and you just let it go. if anything happens to our site A, we just flip a switch and it's running on our secondary regions.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Talk about what's next for you. Clearly there are a lot of use cases in life sciences, and we've been bringing a lot of innovation. What's next for you?
So there's a couple interesting that we're looking to trying with the new announcement that comes up. For example, the simultaneous access to files and objects to a common file. It could be a potential use case for us for use cases where we use AWS data sync to move files into object. So that's something that we are looking into testing. Another is with the scalability of ONTAP FSx on AWS today, the performance as well as the scalability, we are interested in also testing FSx as our storage for HPC on AWS in comparison with FSx clusters plus S3.
And how do you think, what are the advantages of using FSx for scale out? Is it more performance? Is it larger namespace?
Well, for us, I think it's the performance aspect of it, but most importantly, with cost in mind, the data duplications and compressions, snapshot, and also the ability to provide that multiple protocol access. It gives us more options and flexibility to provide access to the storage, not just for the HPC environment, but also potentially for other use cases as well. But we want to make sure that it can do what we think or what the numbers up there says it can do by testing it first.
We tested the system pretty hard.
Right, and understand that with the storage efficiency and the data duplications, does the cost benefit over using clusters in S3?
Makes sense. So you'll be able to utilize the same storage system that you've been using today for your new higher performance need requirements, and still be able to use all the data services, the data efficiency services, and simplify your storage architecture with one single storage option.
Right, and cost optimization.
And cost optimization, that's a big one.
Yes.
Right. Justin, how about you? Are there other things, new workloads or new use cases that you're looking at? Or is it more of scaling now the environment that you already have?
Yeah, I guess I would say kind of three things. I mean, one is we have to complete our exit of our last company-owned data centers, which we'll do by the end of next year. I think in parallel for the workloads that have been lifted and shifted, I mean, we're circling back around to modernize and optimize those workloads as well. And then to no surprise, I mean, generative AI is a huge focus for us. We've already have 2 products launched with generative AI, and we're going to be looking at that quite extensively in the next 12 months as well.
So would it be fair to say that with FSx, you were able to accelerate that lift and shift to the cloud, and now once you're done with that, you'll be in a position to start modernizing those workloads a lot more quickly compared to another route if you had?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's I forget exactly how Trent mentioned it, but when you're doing like a migration, I mean, if you start modernizing all at the same time, it takes longer, and you can get yourself, or at least we got, perhaps caught up in like some complexities and things. So what we found to be more successful is like, just get it into the cloud, and then you have a playground where you can turn it back around and modernize. And because of FSx being available in AWS, that initial migration has been a lot easier.
That's good. Any advice to our customers and partners who are sitting here in terms of as they are thinking about their migration or modernization journey?
So I think it's the technology is not usually the problem. It's the planning, understanding your use cases, plan, and then cost, right? Understand your cost. Estimate how much this cost is going to cost you when you move it to AWS. Get that evaluations, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you move once.
Yes.
And you don't want to move back. Things like Macs and PCs without Gateway doesn't support Mac, right? Then it creates a problem, and it also gives your business a sense of maybe don't trust you as much because you're disrupting their day-to-day activities, right? So plan and plan and plan and test, and then before you actually migrate.
That's pretty good advice. Justin, any advice from you?
I agree with all of that. I would also say I liked like Werner's frugal architect this morning. There's a lot of really good points there. Specifically, I would say like hire a finance person that likes tech, and you know, wrap your arms around them because they're going to be your friend. And you know, just don't obsess over the problems too much. Because maybe they won't happen. So do some good planning, but like just start getting going and get some incremental successes and build on them.
Very good.